Live from the Moscone Convention Center in San Francisco, California, it's theCUBE at Oracle OpenWorld 2014. Brought to you by headline sponsor Cisco Systems, with support from NetApp. And now, here are your hosts, John Furrier and Jeff Frick.
Okay, welcome back everyone. We are here live in San Francisco for Oracle OpenWorld 2014. This is SiliconANGLE's theCUBE. This is our flagship program. We go out to the events and extract the signal from noise. I'm John Furrier, the founder of SiliconANGLE. I'm joined by two great guests from Cisco, Dunn, who's an architect for Worldwide Data Center, and John McAbel, the Cisco product manager for UCS engineering for Oracle. Welcome to theCUBE, guys.
Thanks, appreciate it.
So I got to say before we start, you know, we're in the Cisco booth, there's a lot of Cisco love flowing, and you know, you guys work for Cisco, so we're a little bit biased on the commentary, but I got to say, the customers we've talked to on UCS have been very glowing with the UCS. Really complimentary. So, and Jim gave us a 101 debrief of why it's doing so well in the marketplace. Yeah. Obviously the numbers on the market share are high, even though people might debate the numbers, North America, not worldwide, but that's IDC, they do it, they slice and dice it. But either way, you're winning, right? So congratulations. So
Thank you.
I got to ask you the first question. John, why is it so hot? Why is UCS so popular, in your opinion, expert opinion? Why is it doing so well? What's the magic?
Well, I think the magic really comes from maybe three things. The design of UCS, and I think the performance that we're able to drive, because it really is, as we've proved time and time again, it's the balance of processor, memory, and I/O. And when you look at the industry standard benchmarks out there, and the Oracle-based benchmarks, we continue to set new standards, levels of performance, more Oracle world record benchmarks than any of our competition in the marketplace. And in fact, just the beginning of this month, we announced two new world record benchmarks for Oracle E-Business Suite. One is the order to cash batch benchmark, which simulates a factory setting where you're processing orders, how many orders per hour, and then payroll batch. So you're paying your employees, right? How many employee checks can you process on an hourly basis? I've reassumed the #1 position on a particular benchmark, and that's a benchmark we've held dominance over across all vendors for the last 5 years.
So just speeds and feeds, get the numbers up on straight performance as table stakes.
Yeah.
Okay.
That gets us in the ball game.
So let's talk about adaptive. So now the networks are smarter, a little bit different now, north, south, east, west, depends on who you want to talk to, that's the trend. Network virtualization, you're seeing that cloud movement where data center cloud is kind of shifting, and also you guys announced intercloud, which is kind of a separate group, but okay, now the gear requirement for that environment is different from the old days. What's changed?
I think what's changed is that customers are looking for solutions to their business challenges at the end of the day, right? And so with UCS, we designed UCS to solve database administrator problems, right? They've got problems, sure, we can talk about performance, there's availability, but how do you manage multiple Oracle instances in an environment? How as an IT manager can you make sure that you set best practices and those best practices are replicated throughout all the data centers in your organization? And through service profiles, you can determine what those best practices are, and then that service profile can be copied in a couple minutes to all the servers running UCS that are running Oracle databases or Oracle applications. And so that gives them the ability to make sure there's absolute uniformity across all of those architectures. That's solving a big business challenge that DBAs have today.
Danny, talk about some of the things as an architect, two things. We'll go back to the service profile in a minute, but the first thing is, as an architect, okay, I got all the Cisco gear, I've been with Cisco all my life, I'm a customer, now I want to move to UCS. Why would I move to UCS and how would I do it?
Two things, #1, the service profiles, but also the scalability for a rack cluster. Across the interconnect with the 10 gig fiber channel over Ethernet, and we're at 40 gig now, you've got linear scalability that we've documented up to 8 nodes. Most of the rack clusters that we deal with at customers are in the 3, 4, and 5 nodes, so that's a very good sweet spot for us. And the cache fusion from a rack perspective is the Achilles heel for Oracle rack performance. So above and beyond just the performance we can get into a vertical blade, which John has already talked about, when you go to a rack cluster, Oracle Real Application Cluster,
so you're talking density, you're talking about
east-west traffic. No, I'm not talking density, I'm talking the amount of traffic we can support, both the bandwidth and from a latency perspective. We've got a best practices that we've documented in one of our CVDs that enumerate how you set up an Oracle rack cluster on UCS to get that type of performance.
Okay, so that's specifically on the cluster traffic. What about the footprint? Any innovations on footprint as things get smaller, faster, cheaper kind of thing?
Absolutely, we've got customers that love, and that's one of the beauties of UCS itself. We have a number of Intel processors we can choose from, so we can, what I call right size it. When we architect a solution for a customer, we right size it for them. We select the right processor for the performance they need, but we don't sell them too much processor, and so I think that limits their footprint, limits their Oracle sprawl, if you will.
So I was joking with an IT friend the other day and said, if there was an Office Space movie for IT, it would be really cool. So imagine we're in that kind of like conference room, we're debating, yeah, we got all this Cisco, I want to move to, the service profile's out. And you had a network architect, a DBA, storage guy, and you had the server guy in there. Yeah. Okay, what would that conversation be like? Danny, take us through that kind of dynamic. I mean, we don't have to go over the top here, but like, we could, but we don't want to. But there's benefits there, so how would you, in that conversation with all those stakeholders there, how would you talk about the service profile? Because that seems to be the disruptive enabler here. Yeah. So how would you communicate that and say, hey, you're trying to sell that for everyone to get on the same page. Hey, let's do this. Not the John Belushi, let's go, no, but how would you sell it?
Well, from a fundamental perspective, the thing the service profile does is it collapses the time to provision a server from days or weeks down to minutes, not even hours, but minutes. So from a DBA perspective, I would get those folks excited about service profiles by telling them that they could do rolling hardware upgrades in 7.5 minutes, and we've documented it in our labs. So from the time you bring the Oracle instance down till you take the service profile, apply it to a new blade, and with more cores or the same cores, faster processors, more memory, you start that instance back up. We've documented at 7.5 minutes. Let's double that, because what that was in a in a demo lab, if you will. Let's double that for real world. That's 15 minutes. There was a time when I managed the data center. It took me 3 days to get a new server in and provision to replace one that had failed in a rack cluster. That was in the old days prior to service profiles. The reason I came to Cisco was for 2 reasons: the cache fusion, linear scalability we've talked about, but also the service profile.
But that's before there was a shell shock bug. So let's take a shell shock. Say shell shock happened, right? You'd have to then go to every box and figure out what's on there, kind of thing, right? That's okay. So let's go back to the DBA. So I'm sitting in the room. Okay, bottom line, what's in it for me? What's in it for me? Free beer? No, sir. What's in it for the DBA? More time. So what would your bottom line be?
More time. You get to spend time with your family, if that's a good thing. Yeah. and generally it is. More time to do other things, not be reactive. Again, rolling hardware upgrades, but also if you have a failure. And then the scalability. You don't have to spend as much time managing rack from an operational perspective day to day to get that level of performance you need. It just makes it easier for us to, if you would, implement, and I use the word advisedly, maybe a poorly designed application for Oracle Rack, an application that's not really rack friendly, if you will. Yeah. You can take that and put that in a UCS environment and get that scalability that you might not normally get.
And for the network server guy who's deploying the gear, to them it's just a normal install. Any benefits for those guys?
Yeah, absolutely. Reduced cabling for one, the guy that does the cabling, but also from a OS perspective, from a network perspective, the network people go in, the storage people go in, the system administrator go in, they create templates for the service profiles, and then once those new servers come in, or you have a server that's failed, or you're going to re-provision a server, they don't have to go back and redo it each time. They go, I want this server to look like my Oracle server template, or if I got a failed blade, I go, I want the specific service profile that was associated with this blade, I want it over here. So those guys get 3 clicks and an OK button, they get to go grab some coffee.
Yeah, they have free time to do other stuff.
or be reactive.
It's a 2-martini lunch for those guys.
Yeah, there you go. So that's it.
But the other thing about service profiles is it does help with the seasonality aspects that many of our customers have. So like you, me, Danny, we all spend a lot of money at the Christmas shopping season, right? We're buying gifts for our family and friends and so forth. A lot of our customers have that spike of performance requirements in November, December timeframe. With service profiles, you can move those workloads around to other system resources, get double the memory, double the cores, meet that spike in performance, and then as you get into the new year, reallocate those system resources. So you get higher utilization, but most importantly, you meet the business challenge of the customer's environment.
Yeah, and also just, I don't know why beer's on my brain today. Maybe I need a beer. But,
you need some
but it gets the guys more time. But let's bring up the service profile thing, because this really hits something on the head. So I see this performance. You check the boxes. You're running engineering. Okay, make sure we're kicking ass on performance. Okay, I get that. But now you're talking about the DBA challenges. What the hell is the role of the DBA now? The DBA guys aren't just managing storage, LUNs, and these things anymore. It's a completely different ball game. So if I'm sitting there managing workloads, I'm not a DBA. I mean, the whole role of the DBA is changing. So can you guys talk about how you've designed UCS with that in mind. With virtualization, more stuff's going on, with apps, and now you have the ability to move workloads around to resources to make something more efficient. What is the role of the DBA? Who are those guys? What are those guys going to look like? What are they doing?
Well, the DBA's job is becoming more virtualized, if you allow me to use that term, as you've just described. What we see, what I see personally, and I was a DBA back in the old days, so I know what it was like prior to this era. The DBAs now are becoming more virtualized in their roles, if you will. They're even a little bit further from the bare metal than we were in the old days. And so service profiles actually
because of automation and some of the innovations?
Automation, virtualization specifically, but there are some customers that still are reticent to virtualize their database tier, either in its entirety or in part. And with service profiles, that will allow you to give you some hardware statelessness, if you will. You can virtualize ubiquitously the app-to-app and web tier, which they normally do, most customers do. But you can also take and virtualize, if you will, at a hardware level with service profiles, and you get that same level of functionality. And so the DBAs don't have to worry about where does my database go specifically, as just as in a virtualized environment, which a lot of us are familiar with, and running database workloads in a virtualized environment. But also now, if you have a need for whatever reason, business-defined need, technology-defined need, where you can't virtualize that database workload or that database tier, then you can do it, you can get that level of virtualization physically with service profiles.
One of the benefits of doing this, our 5th season doing Oracle OpenWorld, is we get to hear Larry's keynotes over 5 years.
Yep.
So when people started virtualizing Oracle, they were doing it on VMware.
Yeah.
Of course, no one would ever do that. Now, of course, if you're going to virtualize the database, do it on Oracle.
Yeah.
So obviously, virtualizing has been a big part of Oracle.
Yeah.
How has that changed some of the behavior inside the customer base within IT and within the enterprise, and also the consumption of the resources? Has you guys seen some patterns that you can share around how the virtualization of the database tier has changed some of the consumption and usage patterns?
It starts actually before you get to the implementation. It's changed in the way we architect and size, and what I mean specifically by size is in the old days when you were sizing purely physical environments, you had to take into account things like spikes, unexpected spikes, growth and unexpected growth, and people would generally size for 3 to 5 years out. Today with virtualized workloads and or service profiles, if the customer can find his way to see clear to do this, we can allow them to size the environment so that you don't have to size 3 to 5 years out. Because if you're virtualized, you can obviously react from a vCPU and a memory perspective very quickly. But even if you don't virtualize with service profiles, we can do those rolling hardware upgrades as an example with Oracle RAC. So it's changed the way we size environments. We Cisco right size it, if you will. It saves the customer time, money, hardware, Oracle licensing, Oracle footprint, because you don't have to size out for 3 to 5 years. You can react to that. Operationally, it allows the DBA a little more.
Talk about the license thing, because that's really what people really focus a lot on, because of the renewals. How does it right-size the license? How do you save money in the license?
Well, with virtual, it's the classic consolidation of workloads in the virtualization paradigm, whether it's VMware or OVM, you can now consolidate those workloads and make use of that, better use of those physical resources. With Cisco, we allow a customer an option as well to do a 2-node rack cluster. Oracle's got a 3 and 4 node rack best cluster that was defined years ago when rack was first introduced in the marketplace. That was predicated on the fact, as I mentioned earlier, it would be 3 and 4, sometimes days, sometimes a week to replace a failed node. When I began to first implement Oracle rack clusters, everybody was doing 2 nodes. That was when Oracle rack was first introduced. About 6 months after that, we'd all had enough failures where we had 2-node racks, one would fail, now you've got a problem. You've got a single point of failure and oversubscription from a performance perspective. In that case, if you've got a 3 and 4 day window or a week and a half window, you're exposed for a long time. Inner service profiles, and this is why I came to Cisco. Actually, I saw, this is a game changer, right? From a Cisco perspective, even if you're physical, and again, a lot of people don't like to virtualize the tier for whatever reason, even if you're physical with service profiles, you have the option to set up a 2-node rack cluster with the performance Intel can give you with our large memory footprints that Cisco can bring in conjunction with Intel. And again, that linear scalability across that cache fusion interconnect for an Oracle rack, if you're not doing single instance, those things, it's a nexus, if you will, pardon the pun, we're here at Cisco, but it's a nexus, it's a perfect storm, if you will, and so that allows the customers with service profiles from that functionality, that allows customers to say, I can set up a 2-node rack cluster, and I don't have to go to 3 and 4 node rack cluster, because part of the reason you scaled horizontally, as I mentioned, was that extended window for single point of failure and oversubscription. So if a customer from a business perspective, and here's the key, if a customer from a business perspective, and everybody has to agree, right, can all say, yeah, you know what, at 1,400 hours, we can take a 15-minute window while we've got single point of failure and potential oversubscription. We don't have to set up, we don't have to scale horizontally and set up a 3
You don't have to
or 4 node
overbuy
rack
the
cluster.
Oracle license. That's a huge deal. Now, it's not a technical feature.
Well, it's not just
it's a technical
Oracle.
feature for you guys, but you enable the customer saying, look, we can actually leverage the budget here, manage the workloads, and use that extra cash to buy beer for everybody, or buy more, buy another.
And it's not just Oracle license, it's operational complexity, and again, that sprawl. Wouldn't it be better? And that's the classic virtualization, and that's what we bring at a physical level with service profiles. You consolidate the number of blades to run the given workload that you need, so it's consolidation without virtualization, if that's not an oxymoron. But also, it allows you operationally, it's easier to maintain a 2-node rack cluster than it is a 3 or 4 or 5 or 6. It's just basic math. And so operationally, from a license perspective, from a business perspective, from a sprawl perspective, from HVAC perspective, it's a win all the way around.
So do you think architects out there are with you on this? Is the word getting out? In other words, word tends to spread fast when things like that, when there's money, when money innovation happens, when you're innovating and saving cash, and also adding performance. Is word getting out on architects? Are they jazzed about this?
Absolutely. Every customer that I talk to is enamored with this. Not everyone implements it because there are reasons, or there are, if you have 100 databases, all of them may not be ideal candidates for a 2-node, but if you have 100, 85, 90 of them are, and in that case, everyone's enamored with the idea, and the customers that implement it do so. They don't do it ubiquitously, but if you have, again, to use those numbers, if you have 100 and you do 90 of them,
hey, some customers just want to waste money. It's too much work. Let's just waste money. I mean,
and the other thing
that's
too,
not going to fly.
The design of UCS and our ability to run multiple hypervisors, right? Because to your point earlier, it used to be you had to run a database a certain way. It had to be bare metal, or it had to be on VMware. And now we're finding customers want to run different hypervisors because, say, with Oracle VM, part partitioning, they're able to take advantage of the licensing capabilities of that, right? And you got service providers out there who now can go out and say, look, we want to host your workload. If you want to host it on VMware, we can handle that. If you want bare metal, we can handle it. You want an Oracle VM and take advantage of the Red Stack support offering, we can handle that. And customers like Secure24, who's here at the show, do that every day. They use multiple hypervisors and service profiles to move those workloads around to be able to meet the contractual needs of their customers.
And it gives them a lot of flexibility too.
Yeah.
I mean,
and John mentioned OVM. I'll just tell you this from a customer perspective. In the last 12 months, I've seen an increased interest and traction with OVM, Oracle Virtual Machine. Customers are really beginning to see the value of that. And so that's beginning to get quite a bit of traction empirically as I see it.
Oracle can drag their feet all they want on the license because they actually make more dough, but eventually the customers will find out, and they kind of got to balance the, well, if we don't come clean on this virtualization thing,
well, virtualization is here. It's your choice of hypervisors now, and that's a good thing, and Cisco supports all of them. And again, for those customers that want to kind of walk into the shallow end of the pool, their service profiles. Those customers that wouldn't virtualize normally, they begin to virtualize because they can do so in piecemeal fashion, and service profiles helps them get there.
Yeah, we always joke, we always talk to startups, we always talk to big companies, but we talk to startups and we say, what's your business model, what's your value? When you have a value proposition that reduces steps to do something, makes it easier and elegant to execute, and saves money, that's a winning formula. Okay guys, we got to wrap it up, but I want to get your final word. Tell the folks out there what's most exciting for you guys as the UCS guys here at Oracle. Share real quickly, each of you, start John with you, to the camera out there, the folks out there. What's the most exciting thing?
I think the most exciting thing right now, of course, is leading performance, world record performance I mentioned at the top of the show. I think also the fact that we're continuing to solve more business challenges for customers, and people are coming to Cisco because it's an extension of what they've already implemented in their place of business, right? They've already implemented Nexus technology to handle all their data throughout their data center. We're extending Nexus into UCS, and I think that's just a natural extension of their security of their data, and they're feeling very good about that. I think that's one of the key reasons why they continue to choose UCS for Oracle. Danny?
Everything John said, I would just add specifically 40 gig. 40 gig and soon to come 100 gig. That's a game changer for me as someone who managed Oracle rack in a production environment. You can't beat it. It's beer time, right? Miller time.
It's all about beer. I don't know why beer's on the brain, but save more money, you can buy your staff beer, and then they don't have to do anything because it's already done for them with Cisco.
And they got time to drink.
That's right.
Because of service profile.
Yeah, actually, when we run the big data analytics on our audience, that beer is the most popular beverage of choice in the tech community.
Definitely.
Who figures? Guys, Danny, thank you very much. John, thanks for the engineering perspective. perspective, also the architect who's out deploying. A lot of game-changing things happening. Cisco, congratulations on your success, on the market share, and also just overall changing the game with virtualization and the new data center. This is theCUBE, we'll be right back live here in San Francisco for Oracle OpenWorld. We'll be right back after this short break. Thank you.
Thank you.